Hi, Kasper.
Hi, Kasper.
I'm gonna jump straight into it. There's a cliffhanger from last episode.
Yeah, I haven't slept
You haven't slept?
since, which has been a problem.
What do you call a fish with no eye?
Fish.
Like the letter I,
I get it. Yeah.
not the eye.
I love that you have to explain the joke.
I just want to make sure you get it.
I love to. Okay. Cliffhanger released.
And we see the rate of listeners dropping straight after this.
Did you think about Cliffhanger? Because the joke last time was about Sylvester Stallone. Cliffhanger, that's a great movie. That's a really great movie. That's not a bad movie. Oh, that's really good. Today is about something different.
Tell me.
Because another cliffhanger from the first episode was like the change of data, the change of speed in the market right now. We are seeing very clear indications of three things that companies who are winning market share, who are really excelling, are doing right now.
Okay.
So this is a topic I'm bringing for today's brain session, or what like brain sharing, like think and speak.
Yeah.
And what really made me think of this is is essentially that I don't know if you heard it, but they just opened a restaurant on the moon.
Okay. Yeah.
Great food.
Great food.
No atmosphere. And it made me think of marketing and modern marketing. Incredible data, no context. And this is harsh, but like...
so what do you mean with no context?
In marketing, we keep opening new channels, new platforms, more dashboards, more signals that we need to attend to. We are seeing most companies are struggling to connect this back to the business outcomes that essentially our CFO and the board is asking of us in marketing and in everything we do. Because none of it really connects to the business reality. And I find this very, very interesting. I'm not sure if how it lands with you, how it resonates with you, if that's a topic that you hear out there right now.
I guess to some degree, but it also depends on how mature the company is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think this is what the episode is about also. Like, what does it take? What are the three things that the companies do to change this? Because what we see it resulting in is company, like you have, as I mentioned, explaining numbers over sharing data, which it should be. So data is not trusted. Reporting that happens in tons of dashboards without any real decisions. Like who uses it? How does it work? AI is trained on noise, which we touched on before. Yeah. So we see AI replacing jobs of human beings right now, but not in all cases do we question like what is the data that goes into this, which is like super interesting because this will be a crash and burn for those who initiate these projects without having the data under control, really. Yeah. So we've been very much looking into the factors that makes companies succeed right now and what the enterprises who succeed with this, what they're doing. Because on an overall basis, they take the conversation about data from volume. We've been speaking big data for years to quality and ownership, which is quite interesting.
Yeah. I like the ownership perspective.
Yeah. How come do you particularly like that?
Because I actually see some companies whose, at least seen from the outside, haven't defined an ownership for certain types of data or certain technology.
Yeah.
Right. And it's crazy to me that they don't, and yet they don't seem to be impacted by it.
No, it's very difficult.
And obviously that there might be that they have data from a different source or getting same data into a different place where they then are using the data.
Yeah.
So it might not be that it's an issue. So obviously, my view is purely from the Adobe perspective. I see they have Adobe technology, but lacking ownership of that technology, right?
Yeah.
And then they might as well get rid of it, right? And because I usually say I'm bleeding red for Adobe, right? Being former employee and only working with that technology.
Yeah.
I don't have a need for forcing that technology into companies.
No.
Because I think companies, I truly believe in that companies should be doing what's right for them. So if they can't benefit for all the features and bells and whistles in Adobe, go with Google or Pivot Pro or if that's enough for you, then definitely do it. But regardless of the technology, I'm surprised that oftentimes the ownership is lacking.
Yeah.
At least from the outside and without stepping on anyone's toes, right?
No, but to be honest, this is one of the biggest disruptors, and it's also part of these three things that companies do.
Yeah.
But what makes me curious is that you say that not taking ownership, they don't see the impact of not taking ownership. I'm very interested in how come you see it this way, because I see very much, and they are, in my world, they are very much falling behind from not taking ownership.
So what's the question?
The question is, you mentioned that a lot of leaders don't feel they have to take ownership because they don't really see the impact of not taking ownership.
Well, that's my conclusion.
Yeah.
Right? I'm assuming that if I was a leader and I was seeing the lack of impact or the wrong impact, I would take action on it.
Yeah.
So I'm concluding that by not having the ownership, it's not impacting the business.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't think there's leaders in the companies who is seeing something that's not working and not taking action on it.
I see it more as a ostrich syndrome. That
you think so?
You look away. You look in the different direction, but it's catching up. Technology is catching up. AI is the perfect example of this. If you don't have your ducks in a row, it's gonna burn. Yeah. So I actually see one of the challenges of ownership more being that people are afraid of taking ownership right now because they know this.
Okay.
The potential that is super interesting. We had an event yesterday with Google and Jellyfish, and and Maersk, and we were aligning before the meeting, just talking, and we figured out we are all seeing the same thing from 4 different angles: from major enterprise angle, from agency angle, from vendor technology, and from software angle, which is Acutics.
Yeah.
Which are all feeding into these 3 learnings and the framework that we together, between the 4 of us, actually were able to make. This is what these 3 things today is the sum of what we're seeing from these 4 angles, which makes it hyper interesting for me. And the reason I'm pushing a bit back on data ownership is that data ownership is a massive one. But let's get started, and then we can dive into the talk, because the first of the topics might seem this is the differentiator for feeding data to any own platforms, from feeding data to Google, from feeding data to Adobe, from any tool you use in your tech stack. And that is align data to your business outcomes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't start with tools. Somehow, and we in our businesses would love it to start with tools, but it doesn't start with tools. It starts with questions like, what business decisions should this data support?
So, and I completely agree on that. And I actually disagree that you had a short statement that we'd like it to be about tools. I actually don't want it to be about tools.
No.
Because I think the most important for me and making sure, as a career, as a company, is that we're adding value to our clients.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
And it's not the tool that's adding the value, and that's a completely different discussion. That
the tool is the facilitator.
It's providing, it's a tool that the company is using, right? But regardless what tool you have, if you don't have your people and processes in place, the tool has no value.
No.
Right? Which is straight down what you're saying is that you need to ensure that you know exactly what are your business requirements, right?
Yeah.
And once you have those, let's look at what you need of data or which decisions you need to be able to make. And then you can look at, do we have existing tools that can provide that, or do we need a new tool to deliver it, right?
Yeah.
And I think the business requirement is one thing, but I think that's what you need right now.
Yeah.
But I think you also need a vision for where you want to be going.
You definitely do that. But the first point, the questions that need to be asked is super, super simple. But what we see across all these businesses that we did the event with is that these questions are not being asked at scale. They're not being asked, and it feeds back to it. So from both Acutics, Google, Jellyfish, and Maersk, we saw that there's one conclusion to why AI, journey analytics, CDPs, attribution fail at scale right now. Yeah. And it's not the technology, it's the misaligned data foundations.
Yeah, it's definitely not the technologies. I think there's another potential parameter in the misalignment on data that you mentioned. And I think and I'm seeing it from an Adobe perspective, but those licenses are not small.
No.
Right? And if you're going the Adobe way, it needs to be because you're buying into the vision of Adobe and its multiple solutions. There's no value if you're just, well, there's value, but if you're just buying one and you don't intend to expand from there, it's an expensive solution, right? And I think that the misalignment that you're talking about is also about making sure that it's all the way from the top level, that there's an agreement on what is our vision and which direction do we want to go. Because I don't think that there might be a few, but I don't think the CMO, which is typically where the MarTech data sits, who wants to put his what do you call that, hand on the hand on the cooking hotspot, buying into multiple millions of $5 or $10 million software or tools, and then having to justify it afterwards. So I think it's important that it's the top that has a push down on what's the direction, so you get full buy-in.
Exactly. And when it comes to data and when it comes to aligning data, which for the success of this, most companies does it bottom up, not top down. And that's a problem. And this is why this framework is for marketing leaders and business leaders, because we need to approach it this way. I was surprised how aligned we all were in the things that we saw, that the media platform doesn't work if data is not aligned. The tools doesn't work if data is not aligned. And it all comes back to people. Technology is a small part of it, but it comes back to people, process, and timing. Yeah. And the timing needs to be brought from the leadership, which is it's super important that we take this, that we ask these questions. If these questions are not asked, if we don't have all these things defined, which will be point 2 here, then we have a challenge, because point 2 is established data ownership, which we already came into. So ask the right questions so you can align the data. We all know the optimization data. We have incredible teams across platforms, email, all that optimize their own data. Yeah. But it doesn't holistically reflect back on the business impact. Unless it's asked from the top, we'll not ask these questions. Which again, from the top or for management or leadership, needs to come into data ownership. Because we all have owners in our organization. We have platform owners, campaign owners, analytics owners, all these things. But no one in the company or no one outside the companies who are really moving at fast pace and succeeding now have marketing ownership of the marketing truth. So the holistic truth that feeds into Adobe in your case here, if we're looking at journey analytics, how do we know that the data that feeds into this is correct? That when it comes from platform A, B, C, D, E, F, that it feeds the same parameters back to our business truth, which was point 1. And it's questions like, who owned the definitions? That's a question that no one really asked before. See it at Maersk are really, really good at doing these things, right? And a lot of the companies who are succeeding with data right now are are really good at the definitions are like that. If you don't follow these definitions, it's not valid. We will not look at it. Then we talk about who approves the tracking standards. So the naming and the tracking that we do that feeds into our tools, who approves it? Who owns it? Who's like, if this is not this way, we will not count it. It will not be counted as a business impact if it doesn't follow these parameters, the business parameters. And lastly, like who validates the quality of data? So it's not like, we had one campaign that's 100% data quality. No, you actually ran 200 campaigns. Yeah. And 50% of them are correctly tracked, 50 of them are not. So that means, as we talked about in last season with data ROI or marketing ROI, that you only can attribute half of your spend to actual ROI. Yeah. And this takes ownership. And to be honest, I think those who are winning right now the long-term game says that we need to take this ownership. We need to have an owner. It needs to come top down, not bottom up. Because if it comes bottom up, you'll have every time the bag is shaken, which it is often in enterprise companies, you will need to re-establish ownership. When the leaders own this, it works. And for data ownership, the other part of this that we see a lot of companies looking into right now is that as a company, you need to own your data. The ones succeeding in this don't have agencies that own their data.
Just while you're saying that, I think it was on TikTok Reels or YouTube Shorts something, where I saw some, and I have no idea whether it's true. Yeah. So I don't want to be starting up a rumor, but I guess I'm starting it right now. Yeah. That Salesforce has gone and said that you are not allowed to train on data in Salesforce. Yeah. Which is crazy as well, right? Because it's your CRM data that goes into the system, but then suddenly they're saying that you can't train on. I have no statement. I have no idea whether it's true or not, but coming back to your point that you need to own your data, right?
There's no way around it. And we've been tiptoeing around this for too long, but the pace of the market right now, if you don't own your data, if you have to start over every X year when you change your agency or do things, agencies are crucial for succeeding, but they should never own the data. They should have the data available that they need to use to succeed, but you need to own the data. And we see at Acutics right now a shift in this.
So my and not having the deep insights that you have, my understanding is that shift already started like 10 years ago, because
the talk of the shift started. Okay. Reality has been different.
Okay. Because at least 10 years ago, I saw a lot of agency who owned the accounts, but running paid stuff for companies, but it was not the company account. They were doing on an agency account and stuff, right?
They're doing pushbacks on this, and for a long time, companies have believed that if we own the accounts on our media channels, then that's enough. Okay. But it's not, because you have to start over. If you don't own the data, you have to start over all the time. And excuse me. A company like Lovable, as I talked about, was like, if you have to redefine your go-to-market every 3 months, how are you going to do that if you don't understand where you're coming from and how you're doing this? If you don't have the data real time, if you have to go ask for data and these things, you need to see it real time, and you need to, back to point one. So point 2 is data ownership, and back to point 1, you need to have asked the right questions. Yeah. How does the data reflect back to our business? If you can answer these two as a leader and as a leadership group in an enterprise, you've come a long way, and you'll be among the best. Yeah. Which brings us into point 3. I'm sorry, this becomes a rant, but I'm really.
So before we go into number 3, how big a percentages of companies would your best guesstimate have that companies are in control of one and two?
About
the point 1 and point 2
accounts, or point 1 and point 2.
Yeah.
Less than 10% of companies would be my estimate. Okay. From the conversations that we're having. Yeah.
Point number 3.
Point number 3 is build marketing data confidence, which is crucial, because this is not about perfect data. This is about trusted data.
Yeah.
And the case now is that we don't, like, to my estimate before, like I'd love to look into these numbers, but this is my gut feeling from talking to tons of companies.
Yeah.
Is that it doesn't have to be perfect, but it have to be trusted. So data confidence is when leadership believes decisions that are made based on marketing data, and they are safe making those decisions. And when I said 10% before, I think we need to lower that percentage when we look at leadership taking decisions on marketing data, feeling safe. I think it's always a bet.
I would not argue against that.
I think I've been posting about this on LinkedIn, and I've been getting a lot of feedback, both people agreeing and strongly disagreeing, because marketing gets defensive because they think I'm saying that they haven't developed.
Yeah.
They haven't developed to this data level.
No.
A lot has happened in marketing. Marketing is amazing, but they haven't been able, we in marketing have not been able to develop the skill of proving business impact, which means that we are in 2026 in a scrutiny hell where we have to justify either our position against AI or our budgets against performance, which most are struggling on. Yeah. So it comes back to the data confidence. Data confidence is that everyone who's presented numbers, that we don't have to explain them, but they look at them and take it for real insights that they can take decisions on.
I think part of the problem is there might be a team who's on a daily schedule working on that data and trusted data.
Absolutely, but that's optimization. That's not business, right?
Well, if we're just looking at trust, then I think the teams working in that data on a daily basis trust it.
I agree.
But as soon as you start sending out reports to different departments, then I think that's where the mistrust happens, because they don't fully understand it. Like you said, like what's the definitions? We have a revenue metric. Is that the revenue metric that we also are reporting over here in Power BI?
Which feeds back to point 2, that we have the definitions in place. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And let me just repeat like what I see as confidence and what we between the 4 companies saw as confidence. Mm-hmm. Leadership believes decisions based on marketing data are safe.
Repeat it.
Leadership believes that decisions based on marketing data are safe. Mm-hmm. So it's not about optimization data, because we trust that data. We believe that data. Sitting in a platform, of course, that's optimized. But it needs to be leadership when they take the difficult decision across 15 channels, 200 campaigns, that they believe that the data they're seeing are representative of them all, so they can put their bets where they are most likely to win. Yeah. And as a leader, that's what we're looking for. Like we look for nothing else. Yeah. Where can we, at the least expense, have the highest gain? 3 components go into the data confidence. Yeah. As we saw it on our event. The first one is alignment. And that ties back to the first point, right? That we align our business objectives to the data that we collect. Excuse me. Second one is standardization. So that the data that goes into all our tools are the same, no matter if it comes from media platforms or offline or whatever campaigns we are running. Yeah. It has the optimization data for the local platforms, but it's combined with the business metrics that we need to look at. So everything can be compared across. Third one is the validation part, that we are actually able to validate. And I talked about this in the ROI in our last season. If you don't validate the quality of your data, how are you going to calculate how everyone trusts your ROI? Yeah. So you need to ongoingly be able to validate your data, that you have a data quality score that hits the mark. Yeah. Otherwise, everything crumbles under that, right? So the goal is not perfectly aligned data. The goal, because that will never happen. Perfectly aligned data will never happen. No. So let's not pretend. The goal is that we can connect the optimization part of marketing with the business impact. So the goal is not to have perfectly aligned data. The goal is that we can align optimization data for local teams with business impact.
And when you say optimization data, what does that refer to?
Yeah, optimization data refers back to what you talked about before. So that data that the social media team, they trust that data. Mm-hmm. They have tons of metrics that indicate if they're performing well on social media. The CRM team have tons of data that indicate that they perform well on CRM. Mm-hmm. But as a business leadership, if you want to create business confidence or data confidence in marketing, then it needs to be across those two. So what connects the CRM data with the social media data?
Yeah.
Nothing for most companies. Mm-hmm. And this is what I'm talking about here. And this needs to come from leadership. Yeah. If it comes from leadership, we suddenly can start seeing these things. And it's not something that I woke up and thinking. This is like we see it on a daily basis. Yeah. And having the event yesterday confirmed my belief when all the big players or a good part of the big players are seeing exactly the same. Yeah. We didn't even pitch this to each other. It was everyone showed what they had. It was the same. It was exactly this. And I was like, okay, this is a framework. Like if we see this working across so many enterprises, this is now a leadership framework that we're gonna promote.
Yeah, interesting.
It's somewhat a heavy topic, but it's so interesting.
Yeah.
And I believe
and relevant, extremely relevant.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it's the shift from data volume to data quality. Yeah. And it's super important. And if you follow these 3 steps, of course, there's tons of things. There's adoption, there's all these things. But if it comes from leadership, then we see it working. If it comes bottom up, it becomes way more use case driven, which also works, but not as a holistic business impact.
No. So for me, I don't think there's tons of new stuff in it.
No.
But I think what is changing is that it's on majority of people's mind right now, where it hasn't been before.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Just like obviously there's a maturity in it, and as we talked about with ownership, there's some companies who don't have the ownership, but at some point they're getting to that conversation as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And having to go through all those points as well. Right.
Totally. It's crucial.
But it's just that even though you've been preaching it for them for so long, mm-hmm. there's not been a need, and
it's the ostrich thing that we're talking about.
It might be, yeah, it might be.
I think.
But I guess what's changing right now is that a lot of the dialogues, I guess, partly driven by AI or mm-hmm. mainly driven, I don't know, but is causing that. You have to have a focus on it.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's crucial right now, and you're absolutely right. And it's changing, and with the pace, you need to tend to it now. Yeah. What really interests me in this is that there's a shift. If you just go a few years back, if you went to Google and asked them how to spend your advertising, they would tell you spend more money with Google. If you went to Facebook they would tell you the same. But that companies like Google now say, to be able to get the value and to follow the pace in the market, we expect you to have your ducks in a row when you bring your data to us. Yeah. That's a massive pivot that's super interesting. And now we talk about what you mentioned in the beginning, companies getting real value. It's not about the tech, it's about the companies now. Yeah. And if you have this in control, then you're going to outperform the market. I haven't worked on a case where they haven't outperformed the competition after doing this. And then, it's a massive, it will take years. It will take, no, if it's a leadership role taking ownership of this, it actually moves very, very fast. Because it's like, as you say, 3 things combined that we've heard before, but combined, they actually work. Because you will see the numbers. The CFO will suddenly be, okay, that's valid. Yeah. I believe that's valid.
But I think the key in this is, like you said, that it's the leadership that needs to be dictating it, right? So it's top down.
This is the only way.
And then it doesn't have to take 2 years or 3 years. It can be done within 12 months or less, or you can have a good foundation within, I would say, 6 months.
Yeah.
Right? Then obviously you need to organize your organization and there's tons of shift you need to do, but you can have a proper foundation.
Yeah.
In 6 months' time, right?
Absolutely. You will not fix the data that's old. you can, and we can absolutely do that and clean up.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of like drawing a line, saying like, now we're doing this.
Yeah.
And then based on the business impact we'll see on this, we can evaluate how much do we need to look back to clean the data across this to make that fit. Because obviously we need a trajectory of how we work.
Yeah.
But this is super interesting, and it has massive impact. And I think those who are not playing the ostrich game on this right now will see massive gain. Yeah. Like they will be on a different level, and AI is only the first wave of how data impacts business growth. And
yeah. But I think it needs to start with potentially educating the leadership team sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Or at least them, whether they're talking to a vendor or to a partner or whoever they're talking to, being transparent about their goals and vision, because then you can start having the relevant conversation on what's actually going to be needed, what are the business requirements, and what type of ownership is it that you need across your organization, right?
Yeah. But as I mentioned, when the big media platforms start saying you need your data in a row, when the agencies start saying, hey, you need to own your data, like this pivot makes this doable. Suddenly, like the big political fights that we needed to have before, we don't need to have. It's about us saying we take this ownership and doing this. So I 100% agree with you, but I think it's a pivot and it's an opportunity that in my very short career, I'm trying to seem younger than I am. In my career, like we've seen it more than like it's sometimes these things happen to do things differently with an insane impact. Yeah. And probably last time, like we can discuss this, but like we saw it with the internet when budgets were not allocated to internet businesses. There were no budget, and suddenly like the big tech has like, but you need to spend money with Google. Yeah, but we don't know what this is, or like so. It's a shift like that we are actually seeing right now.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So,
any final words?
Summing up. Maybe, saying, hey, the framework that we see right now with these things is that that we are able to ask the right questions to make sure that the data that we collect reflects back to our business in any way that might be. Secondly, that we take data ownership, crucial. And third, that we ensure data confidence by ensuring that we align the data to our business objectives, that we standardize how we collect it and feed it into our tools, and that we constantly validate the quality of our data to make it data confidence so that leadership trusts the data that they see for making the crucial decisions.
Cool. And with that,
thank you for listening in. I hope you found this interesting. Like, that is not only me.
No, I definitely found it interesting, Kasper. So, with that, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time, guys.